Hey everybody, it's Captain C.A. from Flats Class. Just wanted to share another rigging tip with you here on our Flats Class YouTube channel. Today we're going to focus on the 5-inch diesel minnows from Z-Man Fishing Products. It's going to help you catch a few more snook and a lot more cobia this spring. Stay tuned. All right, so let me set you up with the scenario that we're dealing with. We're dealing with late March and most of April, even bleeding into May some years, depending on the weather patterns. That time of year is a time of transition. Here on the Florida West Coast and on the southeast coast of Florida, we're really going through some big temperature changes. So the bait's coming back on the flats. Hence the reason we picked Pearl Blue Glimmer, one of the best-selling colors in the Z-Man lineup. This is the bait you want to use if you're trying to mimic white bait. It's a great scaly-looking bait, and this new 5-inch size gives me a few advantages. A lot of the advantage is the fact that it's a Elastec material. It has a nice, soft, long swim underneath the water. It sinks a little bit slower, and I'm going to place a worm weight in front of this to give me some great casting distance and some depth control. Because the cobia are moving from offshore and coming into the flats to get on the backs of rays, and because the snook are coming out of the rivers and creeks and back bays and moving to the flats to look for bait, this is going to be an excellent time for you to use this rig. So we're going to walk over to my workstation. I'm going to deconstruct the rig that I had created for fishing today. And I just want to show it to you because I think it's going to be a great weapon for you to use this spring on both cobia and snook. Now, I'm not going to say that you're not going to catch some redfish and you're not going to catch a couple of big trout. And if you're in the right spot, you might even jump a tarpon. But come on over, let's look at the rig and see if you're as impressed with it as I was. All right, so here's the rig. You can see the worm weight, you can see my circle hook, and because of the translucency of the bait, you can see how the circle hook is actually in this particular bait. It is keel weighted. 5-inch bait, it's a pretty bulky bait. When you really look at this bait, it's got a lot of bulk to it. You're probably saying, CA, come on, dude. Why don't you just use a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce jig head instead of using a worm weight that you have to peg and a circle hook? This is why. Oftentimes when I'm using a jig head to swim a bait like this, the line ties up on the top, it catches a little bit of grass. This seems to move through the grass much better. But the rigidity of a big jig head, we're talking 3/8, 1/2 ounce, 3/4, they usually have longer shanks. They pin the bait further back in here, and it doesn't give the bait as much wobble. This bait has tons of wobble because the hook is so close to the nose of the bait. This bait just sits there and shimmies and rolls and really flashes all that silver glitter, giving this a very scaly look. The other thing that's really nice, you'll notice that's a circle hook, guys, a circle hook. Many times when I'm fishing for cobia, I lose them because I don't have a circle hook. They jump out of the water, they roll over when they get next to the boat when we're trying to get a gaff in them, or if we're trying to net them if they're not big enough and we know they're not big enough. That circle hook is pretty valuable. I've got it rigged on 40-pound monofilament leader because I'm swimming this bait. They don't get that good a look at it, and I'm actually fishing for pretty aggressive fish. Now I'm going to show you the components here on the whiskey barrel, if you will, so that you can see how you can put one of these rigs together for you. All right, so here's the components that you're going to need. One, you actually need to have the diesel minnows and the Pearl Blue Glimmer. This is a 5-inch diesel minnows, not the 4-inch. You want the 5-inch. The bulk of that bait really does matter when you're fishing for larger snook and the cobia. Now, you can make smaller versions of this rig, but this is what I suggest for springtime fishing for what I'm trying to do. And like I said, don't be surprised if you find a laid up tarpon and swim this next to him and he doesn't garbage it. You're also going to need a tungsten weight. These little worm weights that Flat Out Tungstens makes are great, but Strike King makes some good ones. There's some other brands that make these little tungsten bullet weights, these worm weights. I like them a lot because they're a lot denser, a lot smaller for their nominal size, for their weight size, and they're very sensitive, so you can feel every little tap. And then naturally you're going to need some type of version of a pegget. That's how you peg the worm weight on. Now next, I'm going to start pulling this apart so that you can see how all these pieces kind of go together, and it makes a lot of sense. Stay tuned. All right, here's the finished bait. You've got 40-pound leader. You've got your 3/8 in this case because I'm fishing on a flat with a pegget in it. And then I've got a 6/0 circle hook, and then I've got my 5-inch diesel minnows. If I slide this up, that's our pegget with our weight. That's this part with the pegget. And the way you do that, guys, is you just put this on the leader and then you just shove the pegget in the back of the bait here, of the weight, I should say, and you pull it tight, snap it off, and then cut it with that knife over there. Just cut it off and you have that nice little adjustable worm weight. I've got my hook on here with a clinch knot, and what I do is I push the 6/0 hook deep into that bait. I pull it in there. Now the best way to do it is put a little drop of glue on this right in here, and then when you pull it in there and hold it, it just stays. It's just finished. It just stays there. Then once it's fixed and you've got that keel weight look with that big open gap circle hook, then all you have to do is slide your bullet weight down on the nose nice and tight, and you're ready to fish. You got a 40-pound leader. I got a 3/8, and this swims great. I can slow swim it in front of cobia over the top of rays. I can take my time. He's gonna hit it, bite it. I'm gonna have him on a circle hook, and I'm not gonna lose him like I would on a jig head. But this also works excellent. This rig works excellent for guys that are fishing the swash channels around passes and inlets, the rip wrap, you know, all the jetties. Works great for that kind of stuff. Fishing fenders at night, it works awesome. This is a great little technique for both snook and cobia in the spring. I want you guys to try this, and it's a real simple rig. We're just borrowing a few rigging techniques from the bass side and making them work. I do it every year. This is one of my go-tos. So I want you to give this a try. Now let's wrap this video up. I really do hope you guys find that this little springtime snook and cobia rigging tip puts a lot more fish over the side of your boat. I think you're going to be really pleased with it. And you shallow water grouper guys, hey, don't discount this bait. This could work for you as well. Just got to use a little bit heavier rod action. We'll talk about rod actions in a new tip that's coming up. Hey, if you like what you see here at Flats Class YouTube, really, I want you to give us that thumbs up button. Just smash it for me right now. And I want you to subscribe. Share this stuff with your friends, your fishing buddies. Our job here at Flats Class and Flats Class University is to teach you how to catch more fish. That's the only mission statement that we truly have here, is to make all of you better anglers. If you've got some suggestions for some tips that you want to see, go ahead, leave them in the comments below. We'll be happy to start doing those. We'll get into some of the best fishing of the year. So we're going to have a lot more tips. And guess what? The new Flats Class episodes are now on Waypoint TV. So go check them out. There's a couple of them up there already. And we started a podcast this year with some really big names and some interesting people you may have not have heard about yet. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening to Flats Class YouTube. And remember, subscribe.